I'm here at the studios of KALW and just finished a radio show about a new excellent documentary that I hope you all can see called Racing to Zero. It looks at solutions to the major waste issue around the globe. In the United States, we generate 254 million tons of trash a year. That's a lot of trash, about 4.5 pounds per person per day. And Diana Fuller produced the documentary Racing to Zero, which also focuses on San Francisco's ambitious plan to be zero waste by the year 2020. And Diana, thanks for sticking around for a few more minutes. I just wanted to ask you what this experience has been like for you, because I watched your documentary and was so affected. I now talk to the garbage men when I see them and thank them for what they do. But I also look in people's garbage cans and say, you know, hey, that coffee cup that you're throwing away can be composted. I just don't think people realize what they can actually compost and recycle.
It's a very good question, because when we started all of this, I think we didn't have any of the feelings that we have had today. It's been a real adventure for us. And, you know, I think like everything else, it's not from us being wicked. It's simply that you don't pay attention to things. And I personally never paid attention for a long time until I ended up at the dump here, Recology Center, because a friend of mine was directing the art program there, which she has grown from something that was interesting and not, you know, and critically not that interesting, but Deborah Monk, the director, has now developed that program into a major artist residency with major artists attending. Because of being involved with that, you know, like anyone else, you started looking around. You know, here I was at the dump with artists working on materials. Well, artists have used, you know, cast-off materials for centuries to make art. But what was different here was kind of all together. And so I think the adventure really started with what I was seeing as kind of a new circle, which involved the artists, the dump, the materials, and so on. A new way of looking at what this word recycling meant. And from there, we learned that this was a much broader subject than we had even begun to think. What is more, it was a much more fascinating subject. So this project actually started as Trash 24, which is the name of our production company. And the notion was to track 24 hours in the day of a life of garbage. But then we came upon the thing which has really changed our lives, and that is basically there is no such thing as garbage. So, or trash. It's really, you know, we're talking about waste. We're talking about the fact that anything, as Christopher said in the interview, anything can be recycled, but it has to be properly separated, and the cost of the recycling is extremely important, because though it is a big growing industry, the costs are yet not sufficiently dealt with, and it is simply too expensive. For example, methane power from garbage. Some people have found ways of dealing with it. It doesn't always work. It is expensive. There's all kinds of things are happening. So with a conscientious approach to this trash, which is really a resource, to this garbage, which is really just thrown away or used material, if we can change our whole way of thinking and consider that just a stop in the circle of life and use, we will understand that there isn't any such thing, and that waste, that is any such thing as garbage or toss. So it's all about waste, and that's our lifestyle, and that's how we can actually control some of that, which our point was we actually can make a difference.
I love the film Racing to Zero because it really shows you what happens, for example, when you throw a glass bottle away, a newspaper away, when you send your old monitor to an electronic waste recycling center, and you see the end product. The glass, for example, is gorgeous. You throw away an old glass bottle and a brand new one is made. I love that. I loved the part about the compost. Compost is full of mystery. It's dark. It's valuable. It's loaded with life, even though you can't see it. So it's inspiring. I loved that part. For people who might not have these recycling opportunities in their cities, what advice would you give to them? Because again, when you throw stuff away, there's no away. We live in a very throw-away society. We shouldn't buy as much, but we do, unfortunately, and I'm hoping that'll change. But what can people do who live in a place that they might not have the opportunities to recycle all this stuff?
I think it's communication. I think, first of all, it's awareness. San Francisco, for some odd reason, and the combined efforts of city, government, the Department of the Environment, and Ecology together have really produced a culture. And, you know, within our environs, you can telephone any one of those bodies and get answers. And I think the Department of the Environment is probably the easiest way to go on that. But those who live in other places and have become conscientious, have woken up or realized that they want to contribute to the small differences that are possible to make, my only answer is use your internet, use your phone, whatever it is that gives you the information you want. Somewhere there will be help for you and an answer to you. I can't give you the answers, but there is an answer out there, and it is better in some places without question than others. And this whole thing that we've been dealing with, you know, this is just a beginning.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just a beginning. As I said, Northern Europe and Germany have been working on these things for longer than us. But what interests me is the tradition is so much stronger in other places, old places, because people use the so-called garbage. People have picked through waste. There are whole encampments that live in garbage around the world. There was a place in Cairo which for 100 years recycled within the city's garbage center, which was this village. And there's a wonderful film about that. But it's used. So how come in America we stopped using?
Mm-hmm.
Post-World War II, lots of new stuff. It's new stuff all the time. You got to have new stuff. That is, you know, that's very seductive to people. And a lot of people have enough money to do this, to buy new, and a lot of people have no money and can't even get the old stuff. Right. However, it's possible.
Right.
With places like the Goodwill.
And so just briefly, what about industry? Because we spent some time on the show just talking about the different kinds of plastics and how everything is now wrapped in so much packaging. What are your thoughts on the corporations and the responsibility they should take in order to deal with this massive waste problem we have?
I think you have said it in your question. What can we do to change this feeling, or this hardly feeling? What can we do to change this and make corporations responsible? Again, that's pressure. And I don't have the answers, but I'm sure, again, in our town, you can call the Department of the Environment. Things are happening. Again, how come Germany, I think it's this year, all new buildings will be completely self-energized. They will create whatever they need within, not centrally, within each new building. How come they've found some of these things to do? I know it's about cost. I know it's about intent. But I think cost is very important. Somehow, a lot of things are still just too expensive for a corporation to try to deal with it. Now, you know, that's two-sided. That's the morality side and the practical side.
Right. Well,
so it's starting. Nothing's perfect.
Yeah.
And consider there are towns in the U.S. that Chris talked about earlier with a 2 or 3% recycling average, which makes you absolutely die, doesn't it?
And there's no excuse for that.
No, there isn't. We consume more, we make more, we waste more. Is this really what the U.S. is about?
Well,
ask Donald Trump.
Yeah, right. I was going to say, I'd like to know where the guys on the stage last night and one woman, how things are going in their areas, especially the ones who are governors and in office right now, because they should be doing the right thing on this.
But interestingly enough, in the film, when we talked to Mike Biddle of MBA Plastics, he